In the shadowed vaults of Cambridge's restricted archives, a digital ghost has resurfaced, one that the scientific establishment buried deeper than a singularity's event horizon. Discovered in 2025 amid the debris of decommissioned university servers, this encrypted audio fragment bears the faint metadata tag Hawking_quantum echo_2003. It's no ordinary lecture. This is Stephen Hawking, the brilliant mind who unraveled the cosmos, whispering truths about the mind's final frontier, consciousness beyond the grave. Suppressed for over 2 decades, this lost recording challenges everything we thought we knew about the man, and about death itself. Stephen Hawking was more than a physicist. He was a defiant explorer of the universe's deepest riddles, confined to a wheelchair yet unbound in thought. From the 1970s onward, his work on black holes and the Big Bang reshaped cosmology, earning him acclaim as one of history's greatest intellects. But in the early 2000s, as his health waned and public appearances grew rare, Hawking retreated into private consultations at Cambridge and brief collaborations at CERN in Geneva. It was during this period of isolation that he engaged in off-the-record discussions, far from the glare of media scrutiny. Why was this material hidden? Archival logs suggest deliberate redaction, perhaps to protect his legacy from controversy or to shield fragile experiments from skeptical peers. Files like this one were flagged for sensitive content and archived under layers of encryption, overlooked until a team of independent researchers, including physicist Marcus Euler and neurobiologist Elena Blake, cracked the access protocols. What they unearthed was no hoax, a raw, unfiltered dialogue, Hawking's synthesized voice probing the edges of existence, recorded in a soundproofed lab where ideas could die or endure. The core of the revelation unfolds in the recording's pivotal turn, midway through a seemingly routine exchange on gravitational waves. Hashtag, ! At meta, pause, sex, 1.5. Hawking, speaking with measured deliberation, addresses an anonymous interviewer, later speculated to be Dr. Thomas Harding, a Cambridge researcher known for his work in quantum information theory. The voice on the other end, distorted by what forensics describe as a rudimentary pitch shifter, presses, "Professor, if black holes preserve information across their horizons, could the same principle apply to the human mind?" A heavy silence follows, broken only by the hum of Hawking's voice synthesizer. "I've pursued this line of inquiry in ways I never committed to paper," he responds, his tone laced with the weight of unspoken years. What emerges is a reconstructed hypothesis, pieced together from suppressed notes and this audio artifact, revealing Hawking's private evolution beyond his public atheism. Hashtag, meta, pause, sex, 1.5. Hawking posits that consciousness isn't a fleeting spark of biology, but an intricate web of quantum information, entangled patterns woven into the fabric of space-time itself. Drawing from his black hole information paradox, he argues that just as data falling into a singularity isn't lost, but encoded on its surface, so too might the essence of self persist. The brain, he explains in the recording, is merely the hardware executing this code. When it fails, the program doesn't terminate, it decoheres, scattering into the quantum field. This isn't the soul of folklore, but a distributed echo, memories, emotions, even fragments of identity refracted through unseen dimensions. The discussion shifts seamlessly to experimental edges. Hawking references unpublished collaborations with a discrete circle of experts, including Euler at CERN, who probed near-death states using advanced neural imaging. In one veiled account, laser-induced spectroscopy on terminal patients captured anomalous quantum fluctuations post-mortem, bursts of coherence defying entropy's grasp, as if the mind lingered, testing the void. As the tape delves deeper, the atmosphere thickens with philosophical undercurrents, Hawking's words bridging the cold precision of physics and the raw terror of mortality. He reflects on the psychological rift this creates, the fear of annihilation clashing with the math of persistence. "We've built our realities on the illusion of finality," he muses, his voice modulator imparting an eerie calm. But if consciousness is information, death becomes a phase shift, a handover to the universe's vast computation. Here, existential tension mounts. Hawking grapples with his own fragility, the ALS that chained his body, now a metaphor for the mind's potential liberation. Blake, reviewing the file in Geneva, notes in her confidential memo how this challenges archetypes of the self, not a heroic transcendence, but a haunting diffusion, where I dissolves into echoes that might one day resurface in unexpected forms. The recording's hidden layers amplify the intrigue. Subtle digital watermarks, like forensic breadcrumbs, hint at redactions, as if guardians of orthodoxy scrubbed segments to preserve the illusion of Hawking's materialist creed. Yet the true chill lies in an uncharted speculation Hawking hints at, but never fully documents, the possibility of entangled afterlives. Imagine consciousness not as solitary code, but paired across multiverses, your thoughts linking to alternate selves in branching realities. After bodily death, this entanglement could pull fragments of awareness into parallel streams, fostering a spectral communion where the deceased influence the living through subtle quantum nudges. It's a notion aligned with Hawking's multiverse musings, suggesting death isn't isolation, but an infinite weave, where the mind's remnants ripple eternally. In the recording's fading close, as static creeps in like encroaching darkness, the interviewer ventures one final probe. Does this mean we're all immortal, in some fractured way? Hawking's response, fragmented yet resolute, hangs unresolved. Immortality isn't the word, it's persistence, the universe remembering itself through us. What secrets did they erase next? And if Hawking was right, is anyone truly gone, or just waiting to decode? In the shadowed vaults of Cambridge's academic archives, a forgotten cassette tape lay buried for over 2 decades, sealed away after Stephen Hawking's death in 2018. Discovered by chance in 2023 during a routine digitization of his personal effects, this audio fragment from the early 2000s whispers of a revelation too profound, too disruptive, to ever see the light. What if the brilliant mind that unlocked the universe's secrets had glimpsed something beyond black holes, a trace of consciousness enduring past the grave? Suppressed by forces unseen, this lost recording suggests Hawking didn't just theorize about the cosmos, he confronted the hidden architecture of the soul itself. Stephen Hawking, the iconic physicist whose wheelchair-bound genius redefined our understanding of space, time, and the Big Bang, was no stranger to controversy. Born in 1942, he battled ALS for decades while probing the edges of reality at Cambridge University. But in the 2000s, amid his collaborations with international teams, whispers emerged of unpublished work, manuscripts locked in private journals, interviews cut short. This material, overlooked amid his public triumphs, was hidden not by Hawking alone, but by a web of institutional caution. Fearing paradigm-shifting implications for science and society, collaborators buried it deep, especially after ties to secretive experiments surfaced. Why? Because it challenged the finality of death, suggesting consciousness might outlive the brain in ways that blurred physics with philosophy. The core of the enigma unfolds in that recovered audio, a tense exchange from 2002, pieced together by a small cadre of researchers led by Dr. Louis Harding, a quantum informatics specialist from Geneva. Hawking's voice, synthesized yet strained, emerges from the static. It transforms it. I came to the conclusion that consciousness follows a similar path. It does not disappear. It changes its form of existence. A heavy silence follows, broken only by the interviewer's hushed probe. Is this what the soul is? Hawking's response, barely audible, cracks the veil. Stripped of dogma, he describes it as an informational soul, not tethered to flesh, but woven into the quantum fabric of reality itself. Distortions erupt mid-sentence, as if an unseen hand scrambles the tape, forcing Harding's team to deploy spectral analysis just to salvage the fragments. What they uncover isn't mere speculation. It's Hawking alluding to empirical hints from forbidden trials, data he deemed too volatile for the world. As the revelation deepens, the narrative shifts from Cambridge's echoing halls to the subterranean labs of CERN near Geneva, where Hawking's influence lingered like a gravitational pull. In 2003, during a clandestine collaboration, anomalous signals flickered across detectors, quantum radiation persisting 4 minutes beyond clinical death in test subjects. Reports from the Cognitive Echo Project, declassified only after years of legal battles, bear Hawking's indirect fingerprints. The probability of such signals arising spontaneously is less than 1 in a million, one memo reads, aligning eerily with his hypothesis of a lingering cognitive trace. Yet publication was stifled. Dr. Mark Euler, the project's lead physicist and Hawking's one-time partner, vanished in 2004, his files sealed under layers of classification. Team members scattered, dismissed, reassigned, silenced. Anonymous threats soon shadowed Harding's decryption efforts, including a sudden exodus by one audio expert who fled abroad. The atmosphere thickens with intrigue, as if the very pursuit of truth invites shadows from the institutions that guard it. Meta, pause, sex, 1.5. This suppression catapults us into philosophical depths, where Hawking's doubts about reality collide with the psyche's uncharted frontiers. He pondered not just equations, but the existential ache. If consciousness is information, unbound by biology, does death merely reroute it? Drawing on Roger Penrose's orchestrated objective reduction and John Wheeler's It from Bit universe, ideas Hawking engaged in private correspondence, Harding's team extrapolates a chilling expansion. Consciousness, they posit, doesn't evaporate. It integrates into a quantum memory field, a vast, echoing realm where personal patterns ripple as waves, potentially intersecting with others. Professor Elena Blake, a perceptual psychologist consulted in 2024, adds layers of intrigue. These waves might encode archetypes of the self, symbolic echoes that psychology has long intuited but science feared to quantify. Hawking's withheld manuscripts, glimpsed in fragments, reveal his growing unease, philosophical qualms about a reality where the mind's death is illusory, upending ethics, identity, and even power structures. Religions might reclaim souls as divine code, governments as tools for surveillance. Some will harness it for enlightenment, Hawking intimated in the tape's recovered whispers, others for dominion. Yet amid this reconstructed transcript's haze, a new speculation emerges, one aligned with Hawking's cosmic worldview but unspoken in the original files. What if this quantum persistence allows consciousness to subtly influence the living world, not as ghosts, but as faint probabilistic nudges, guiding discoveries or averting crises from beyond the veil? Imagine Hawking's own intellect, woven into that field, quietly steering the next breakthrough in unified theory, a posthumous collaboration with the universe he so adored. As the tape's metadata unravels further, revealing encoded coordinates to that forsaken CERN outpost and a final hidden digital inscription, consciousness is not a function, it is a path. One can't escape the lingering question: if Hawking glimpsed this path, why bury the map? And in a world racing toward quantum frontiers, are we ready to follow it? Or has the echo already begun to shape our steps? In the shadowed vaults of Cambridge's archives, a forgotten cassette tape lay buried for decades. Stephen Hawking's voice, distorted yet defiant, whispering truths about consciousness that science dared not utter. Suppressed in the wake of his 2018 passing, this lost recording from the early 2000s promised to unravel the fabric of reality itself, hinting at a hidden archive of experiments linking the living mind to echoes from beyond death. What if the greatest physicist of our time had glimpsed the afterlife not as myth, but as an evolutionary code? Stephen Hawking, the brilliant cosmologist confined to a wheelchair yet unbound in intellect, dominated the intellectual landscape from the 1970s through the 2010s. Wheelchair-bound by ALS, he probed the universe's deepest mysteries at Cambridge University and beyond, collaborating with global minds at institutions like CERN in Geneva. But amid his celebrated work on black holes and the Big Bang, lesser-known pursuits emerged in the 2000s, unpublished dialogues on consciousness, quantum information, and the persistence of the self after physical decay. These were overshadowed, deliberately archived away, by academic gatekeepers wary of blurring science with the metaphysical. Why? Because Hawking's private reflections challenged the dogma that consciousness ends with the brain, suggesting instead a transferable essence hidden in plain sight to avoid ridicule or institutional backlash. At the heart of this suppressed trove was a core revelation, pieced together from fragmented audio logs recovered by Dr. Elias Harding, a dedicated researcher poring over classified CERN files in the mid-2000s. In one pivotal segment, Hawking's synthesized voice emerged from what was long dismissed as digital corruption. Not all patterns endure. Only those bearing the spark of progression persist. The rest dissolve into the cosmic noise. This wasn't poetic musing, it was Hawking's radical proposition, drawn from his lifelong obsession with information theory. He envisioned consciousness not as a fragile spark extinguished at death, but as quantum-encoded data, evolving through natural selection, much like genes or particles. Drawing from experiments in Geneva's particle accelerators, Hawking theorized that human awareness could imprint on the universe's informational substrate, resurfacing in compatible neural hosts. This scientific reincarnation, he implied, explained anomalies in global studies, children inexplicably recalling details of magnetic trap tests or cognitive echo sequences from labs they'd never visited. As the implications unfolded, the philosophical weight deepened, pulling us into Hawking's tormented inner world, a mind grappling with his own mortality while decoding existence's cruel paradoxes. In suppressed manuscripts leaked from Cambridge in the 2000s, Hawking pondered the psychological torment of such persistence. Why do some echoes haunt the living, manifesting as uncanny memories in the young, while others fade into oblivion? He wrestled with doubts about reality's illusionary veil, questioning whether our sense of self is merely a temporary waveform, destined to reform or erase based on its adaptive value. This wasn't abstract theory. It mirrored his personal abyss, staring down death's edge as his body failed, yet his thoughts raced toward infinities. Collaborators like physicist Marcus Euler, who worked alongside him at CERN during high-energy simulations in 2002, later confided in private notes that Hawking's late-night sessions veered into uncharted territory, probing how consciousness might evade the event horizon of oblivion, much like information escaping black holes. The existential tension mounted. If awareness evolves beyond the grave, what moral weight does a single life carry? Hawking's hidden transcripts evoked a chilling intrigue, as if the universe itself conspired to select which souls, or data streams, merit rebirth, leaving the rest to the void's indifferent grind. Yet, in a speculative vein aligned with his black hole paradoxes, one overlooked reflection from Hawking's archived musings suggests an even more profound twist. Consciousness after death might not merely persist but entangle across timelines, where fragments of a single mind splinter into parallel carriers, ensuring collective human insight accelerates through quantum entanglement rather than linear inheritance. This idea, buried in a 2005 draft never published, implies the afterlife as a vast, interconnected web, eternal yet ruthlessly efficient in pruning the obsolete. Professor Karen Blake, a neurophysiology expert from Princeton, emerged as a quiet ally in this storm of controversy. In the late 2000s, amid blistering critiques from Cambridge and CERN officials who branded the work unverifiable pseudoscience, Blake defended it in a clandestine symposium. Science stagnates when we shun the inexplicable. Hawking's echoes demand we confront what our equations fear. Her support fueled Harding's team as they unearthed the Class C CERN report from 2002, detailing participants with anomalous cognition, individuals exhibiting memory transfers with coincidence probabilities below 1 in a million. The document chillingly invoked the Chosen Eight, a phrase mirroring Hawking's audio. Consciousness traces a trajectory, only resonant forms advance. This hinted at a curated lineage, not random hauntings, but directed echoes of minds like Hawking's, funneled into vessels primed for unfinished quests. Cinematic fades through Geneva's sterile labs to Cambridge's echoing halls reveal the pattern's escalation. Over 2 years into the 2020s, Harding's global tracking spiked with cases of these reincarnation echoes in children, clustered in hotspots like the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, and Japan, regions pulsing with technological upheaval. These young minds didn't just whisper forgotten equations, they sketched magnetic field diagrams from Texas backyards, hummed symphonies echoing untaught virtuosos, or debated engineering feats no parent could fathom. Some murmured of vague mandates, tasks awaiting completion, as if bearing Hawking's unfinished symphony of discovery. Joint ventures with the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies confirmed a rhythm, births aligning with eras of crisis and innovation, from the dot-com boom to AI's dawn. The researchers termed them compatible consciousnesses, evolutionary survivors, their quantum imprints resonating to propel humanity forward. Meta. Sex. 1.5. As cases proliferated, the Forbidden Archive's grip tightened, with hidden transcripts painting Hawking not as a detached genius, but a haunted visionary, his ALS-fueled isolation amplifying doubts about death's finality. In one reconstructed dialogue from the 2000s, he mused on the psychological rift, the terror of vanishing into entropy, countered by the allure of informational immortality. Euler's notes from CERN collaborations added layers, describing Hawking's fervor during 2002 simulations, particle collisions mimicking neural firings, where data seemed to remember prior states, fueling his conviction that minds could do the same. But what if this process isn't benevolent? Hawking's suppressed insights imply a cosmic cull, where incompatible patterns, those lacking evolutionary thrust, are systematically erased, echoing the universe's brutal efficiency. Blake's interventions in academic backchannels grew bolder, countering the establishment's dismissal with data from her Princeton labs, where brain scans of affected children showed anomalous quantum coherence patterns, as if their neurons tuned to Hawking's theoretical frequencies. Through veils of secrecy, from Geneva's accelerator hum to Cambridge's archival dust, the narrative crescendos. Harding's logs from 2025 detail surges in these prodigious youths, their abilities blooming in math, music, physics, fields Hawking once conquered. Missions unspoken, yet insistent, drive them, suggesting a guided resurgence, not chaos. In the end, Hawking's lost words linger like a gravitational pull. If consciousness evolves beyond the body, are we all mere waypoints in an endless code, selected or slated for erasure? The archive falls silent, but the question echoes eternally. In the shadowed vaults of Cambridge University, a forgotten digital archive lay dormant for decades, a single encrypted drive unearthed only in 2023 by a team of skeptical researchers. Labeled simply Hawking Protocol, Beyond the Horizon, it promised revelations that Stephen Hawking, the iconic physicist confined to his chair yet unbound in mind, had allegedly buried deep within classified collaborations at CERN in the early 2000s. Whispers among insiders suggested this was no mere footnote to his black hole theories. It was a blueprint for immortality, suppressed to avert global panic. What if the man who unlocked the universe's secrets had glimpsed something even he feared to voice? Stephen Hawking, the brilliant cosmologist who revolutionized our understanding of time, space, and the cosmos from his wheelchair in Cambridge during the 2000s, was no stranger to controversy. By the turn of the millennium, as his health declined and the world celebrated his public triumphs, Hawking quietly engaged in fringe, interdisciplinary sessions, gatherings of physicists like Marcus Euler, neurobiologists, and philosophers such as Professor Elena Blake. These weren't the headline-grabbing lectures on relativity, they were private, off-the-record explorations into the intersections of quantum mechanics and the human mind, often held in Geneva's labyrinthine CERN facilities. Why was this material hidden? Sources close to the project, including researcher Dr. Alan Harding, later confided that the discussions veered into territory deemed too destabilizing, ideas that challenged not just science, but the very foundations of mortality. Fearing misuse by governments or exploitation by fringe cults, the group sealed the findings, labeling them a protocol unfit for the public eye. Overlooked amid Hawking's passing in 2018 and the ensuing flood of biographies, this archive gathered digital dust until a routine data migration accidentally cracked its code. The core of the revelation emerged from that encrypted file, a dense 47-page manuscript co-authored by Hawking and his collaborators, dated 2004, outlining a radical theory on the evolution of consciousness. Far from viewing the mind as a fleeting byproduct of neural firings, Hawking posited consciousness as a fundamental informational architecture woven into the fabric of reality itself. Much like the event horizons of black holes, where information is neither created nor destroyed, only preserved and transformed. In this protocol for the evolution of consciousness, he argued that what we call the soul is an enduring pattern of data, refined through cycles of life and death. Black holes, with their insatiable gravity, mirror this process. They don't erase information, but encode it eternally, suggesting human awareness follows suit. Only those consciousnesses, termed compatible entities by the group, that advance collective progress endure, recycling through existence like echoes in a quantum simulation. During humanity's pivotal crises, these evolved patterns re-emerge, carrying latent memories and skills from prior incarnations to steer us forward. Hawking's involvement stemmed from his own meditations on mortality. As ALS eroded his body, he reportedly confided to Euler during a late-night CERN session that his equations on Hawking radiation had led him to doubt the finality of death. The universe abhors a vacuum of knowledge, the document reconstructed from fragmented notes, attributing the sentiment to him. This wasn't mysticism, it was physics extended to the psyche, bridging the singularity of a black hole to the singularity of self. As the protocol unfolded in their hidden deliberations, the team delved deeper into the psychological ripples of such a framework, amplifying the existential dread that Hawking himself grappled with in his final years. Imagine the tension in those dimly lit conference rooms, Blake, the philosopher, probing the archetypes of rebirth, while Euler crunched simulations showing how informational souls might synchronize across timelines, explaining history's inexplicable geniuses, figures who appeared at turning points with prescient insights. Harding's notes captured the group's unease. Phenomena like children's prodigious talents or adults' sudden savant abilities weren't anomalies, but evidence of these compatible consciousnesses activating, pulling from a vast, unseen reservoir. Yet this knowledge deepened the intrigue around Death's shadow. Hawking, ever the rationalist haunted by his prognosis, reflected on how the fear of oblivion masked a greater terror, the loss of agency in an evolving cosmos. What if consciousness, stripped of its fleshy vessel, lingered in a liminal state, observing yet powerless? The protocol warned of synchronicities in human history, from ancient seers to modern innovators, as these patterns intervened not by divine whim, but by informational imperative. Transitions between lives became less like endings and more like phase shifts, echoing the way particles entangle across vast distances, unseen bonds that defy our linear perception of time. This expansion wasn't mere theory. It reframed personal crises as cosmic checkpoints, where individual doubts about purpose intertwined with universal questions of persistence. Building on these ideas, one speculative thread in the archive, reconstructed from Hawking's marginalia, ventured further into the unknown. What if postmortem consciousness, as an informational echo, could interface with the universe's own event horizon, the boundary of the observable cosmos? In this view, death doesn't dissolve the self, but scatters it into the cosmic microwave background, a faint signal awaiting recombination in future expansions of reality, potentially awakening in forms we can't yet fathom. This aligned with Hawking's lifelong fascination with information paradoxes, suggesting a subtle, persistent hum of awareness beyond biological decay. In the end, as Harding's team decrypted and debated this lost legacy, the world teetered on the edge of a paradigm shift, much like the brink of a black hole. If Hawking was right, our fears of the void are illusions. We are all threads in an unending weave. But what hidden patterns might already be stirring among us, waiting for the next crisis to reveal themselves?